You mentioned a studio had told you that your movie wasn't going to be like Taylor Swift's Eras Tour.
The implication was like YouTubers, no matter how many followers they have, are never going to be like a mainstream celebrity. But it wasn't until Friday that we got numbers in, and then I realized, we might actually have a competition with Sam Raimi here.
I think there's something kind of fascinatingly old-fashioned in the movie theater butts in seats part of this.
People want to get outside. They want to go have an experience. They want to be able to go do something. And I think that a lot of people are looking for a reason to not look at the rectangle in their pocket.
Hey guys, it's Lizzie O'Leary. I am the host of the Slate podcast, What Next TBD. And if you have been watching what's happening at the box office, you may have noticed the success of a movie called Iron Lung. But Iron Lung does not come from a big Hollywood studio. It was shot, directed, financed, produced by one guy. His name is Mark Fishbach, and he is better known as Markiplier on YouTube. I sat down with him late last week to talk about what it's like to go from YouTuber to box office king. I loved the conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
Mark, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Markiplier, also known as Mark. I made Iron Lung, the movie, not the game. David Zemansky made the game.
Was there a moment when you realized that Iron Lung was going to be a hit? Like, what was that like?
I think it was in gradual steps. I went out to an early screening at the Chinese theater, and I met some fans outside. And I haven't met fans in a long time. Mostly, I used to go to conventions a lot more before COVID, and then after COVID, I fell out of the habit. And also, I kind of like not going and getting sick every time, even if it wasn't COVID. It was, I would always get the flu or something. But when I saw the fans and I actually got their responses to it, I was like, oh man, maybe people will actually enjoy this. And then I went to this Regal Q&A and met more fans, talked to them there. But it wasn't until Friday that we got numbers in for what the Thursday nights were. And then I realized, we might actually have a competition with Sam Raimi here. And I was like, it's on. So I was making a lot of jokes about that. But then we kept, the number one spot for a while after that. And then, I was the whole weekend, I was just so big smile on my face, not for like, yay, selling all the tickets, but just like, wow. I can't believe it's actually worked. I can't believe people are seeing it in theaters. I can't believe it's in Actually, no, it was before that. It was when the website that my wife Amy built, we started uploading theaters to that. We put on a map that she put together.
Right, that you can click on the map and find the theaters.
Exactly, yeah. So the point where it was like, oh God, this is going to actually be kind of a success came way before that, when we hit about 500 theaters. And then when it hit 1,000, it was quickly 2,000. That's when things really snowballed. I remember now.
I watched this clip of you on your channel where like you are tearing up about being number one. I mean, that seems like it was a very emotional process.
There's many memes about me many a year ago, because I'm known to be a bit of a softie on my channel. But I get emotional about it because this one was just such a culmination of so many years of work for me, and that's obviously arduous. But it was the fact that people believed in me. And it's just like the way that people rallied and came to my support. And it just was really, really, really rewarding to be at the center of that and just feel all that. And so it's overwhelming. I'm just a very emotional guy, so I don't like to hide anything.
Do you feel like what you are has changed? Like, have you gone from being YouTuber, albeit a very successful one, to like, now are you filmmaker, auteur? Are you something different?
I tried to pull that on my friends, Bob and Wade. We do a podcast together ourselves. I came in with a director's hat and sunglasses, and they always knock me down. Like I was nominated for an Emmy for my last project, and they humble me because I didn't win the Emmy. So instead of being like, "Oh man, you almost had," and they're like, "Ah, no, the Emmy losing director, Markiplier," and so that became a joke among my fans. And so they keep me humble on that. But as far as me and how I envision myself is, I don't think I've changed much at all, because I talked about this too, is making a movie is a very high level of skill that has way more roles than you could ever do. But I still, wrote, directed, and acted in it and edited it, which I love editing. But I don't take that as an ego thing. For me, it was always just like, well, I did that anyway when I was making YouTube videos. It's no different. It's just on a different skill level, right? So I've had 14 years to build up that skill level to get to this point. So it was only natural for me to do it. It just so happened that this one was a success. I've done that for pretty much all of my past projects, and they just didn't have headlines written about them and things like that. So for me, there's no difference.
I want to go back for our listeners who don't know you or like only have some casual idea of who you are. Let's go back to 2012.
2012.
What was pivotal for you? Like, why say, okay, I'm going to be a YouTuber now?
This was like the fifth thing that I tried to do. I had this a tumor in my left adrenal gland when I was in 2011. They found it because I went in for side pain on my appendix, and my appendix needed to come out, and they were like, oh, also you have a tumor, but don't worry about that right now. Right as they're sending me back for surgery. And then I got laid off from my job. I was in engineering school, but I had like a co-op, which is like an internship at an engineering firm. And I had been laid off from there, and I was kind of just spiraling in my hospital bed, just being like, oh man, I don't know how I ended up here. So I knew that I wanted to try something. So I tried art first. I even hopped out of engineering school to go into art school. And then I was like, man, it's not for me. Hop right back to engineering school. And then I tried various different things while I was kicking around a job. I was like, oh, maybe I could do music. No, that didn't work out. And I was like, oh, maybe I could do like VFX, like some of the YouTube channels that I was inspired by. And I was like, I don't even know how to hold a camera. I was like, okay. And then my brother said, hey, people just play video games and they post videos of it. And I was like, I play video games? I could do that. And so I that's how I started. I knew that I still wanted to build the skills to do more advanced stuff. So it was kind of it was supposed to be an entry into doing the bigger things. But then the one channel became the hub of all the things. And I didn't need
doing
to
the Let's Plays.
Doing Let's Plays for video games. And then I started doing sketches and sketch comedy and little short films, and slowly building my skills there over the past 14 years to get to where I am now.
I want to ask you about the tumor, because I've had cancer, and I feel like there is a thing that happens when you have a major health thing. You have this moment where you're like, oh, I'm going to live my life differently. Everything is different now. It is actually easy to go to the before or like forget. It's really hard to make the full change. How did you find the motivation for that?
It was very difficult because you have all this motivation at first, and it's like, I'm going to do art. And I was like, my brother was a comic book artist, still is. So he makes comics online. He's been an artist forever. I was like, I think maybe I could try that. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I can write. I think the only thing that kept me going is that I don't really quit, but I kind of jump from idea to idea all the time. It's part of having ADHD. And then the first thing that actually worked, where I released a video, and I'm so glad that in the first week or two, I had a video go on Reddit and get like kind of high up on the videos subreddit. And that got me my initial bit of attention. It only got me like a couple hundred subscribers, but that was huge for me back then. And it was just like, oh my God, now I can actually do things. So I set up all these different things that I was starting with. And it wasn't until I hit the thing that actually worked that I was like, okay, I have a feedback loop that this can keep motivating me for as long as I keep doing it. And so long as I keep doing it, I'll be growing my skills. And so it really it needed that first spark and ember to catch on something, but it went around and the ember burned out and then, it got cold. But until it caught something, that's when the motivation fire started really burning.
Why horror?
Oh, just people wanted to see it. I actually didn't really like playing horror games. I was scared.
Really?
Yeah, and so that's what people liked now. It's like I saw other people making compilations of people playing horror games. And I was like, okay, I'll play this horror game, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I'll react to it. And then with that, I don't really have to try to write a script. It's just you record and you go and you play it. And then at the end of it, I was like, I'll make a compilation like the videos I've seen that work and people see them. They want to watch it. So I was like, okay, I'll try that. And I learned how to put text on screen, which seems like such a fundamental skill now and so easy. But back then I didn't even know how to edit. So trying to figure out how to put the text on screen and cut all the shots together. It was difficult. Took me like, a full day's work. Now thinking of like something being like, oh, it took me one full day of work and whoa, that was so hard. Now I worked for 3 years on this movie and I get to the end of it. But that's how it started. So yeah, that's why horror, because people were watching it and I thought I could do it.
So you worked really closely with Dave Szymanski, the game developer when you were working on Iron Lung. Why that one? Why that was the thing that appealed to you? Where like, no, I'm actually going to make a full-length feature with this.
I think
it doesn't naturally make sense.
It doesn't. I think you're totally right about that. There's probably other IP, I hate to call it as IP, but a lot of people call it like IP, have these kind of broader appeal and things like that. But it's like, I don't really care about doing broad appeal. I do what appeals to me. And with this, when I played the game, it was so different from any other game, and not in like the greatest way. Like, this game
What do you
plays
mean
incredible.
by different?
It was just fundamentally, you had so many limitations from what other games play. Usually if you're playing a horror game, you're usually going into a building, either you have a gun or you're defenseless, you got a flashlight, you're exploring the area and you're opening it up and you can get a sense of the space. Iron Lung had so many restrictions. You're in a submarine, you can't see, you have the worst camera in the world, and you can only hear what's going on outside. And you're set in this setting that has such terrible implications, like the Quiet Rapture, like Earth, Mars, every
Right,
planet,
that's like totally
star,
post-apocalyptic.
gone. But it's not even happening in the moment. It's already happened. So you have all these questions of like, well, what happened? Where did everyone go? How was everyone coping? How are they able to get resources? Why can't they do this? Why am I here? What is outside? There's so many questions. And so I liked it from that perspective, where it seemed like there were a lot of questions that could have answers if you dug deep enough. And there were more answers to find, and he did a lore update. And so talking with David Zemansky about it, and exploring that world, it led to this curiosity. And I knew a lot of people that were fans of the game really, really liked how the universe was unfolding, and all these questions and all these mysteries and this horror element that a lot of people like. Maybe some people would prefer a more in-your-face horror experience, but this one was very much just like, you don't know. And that's part of the fun, is not knowing. So, and also contained environment, single room. I was naive and thought, oh, one room will be an easier movie. Much harder. So way harder. And so I had a little bit of naivete going into there, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I picked that one.
So one question I have about your process is, you're used to working in this environment where you get a lot of feedback and input like almost instantaneously, right? YouTube is interactive in a lot of ways. Doing a 30-day shoot on this one project is the opposite of that. Yeah. Did you doubt yourself, or how did you feel in that process?
I felt fine, because I had done some other productions before this, varying degrees, some bigger, actually. I did the previous project that lost the Emmy. It's called In Space with Markiplier, and that was a 45-day shoot, way more scenes, way more characters, way more involved, longer runtime, 89 videos in like 6.5 hours total if you added it all up. A very complex project. So with that, I was going into that with confidence of all the other things that I did before. And I was like, okay, I know that I can just get in my little editing hole. Or I didn't edit that one because there wasn't much to edit. I guided the edit because it's just all single shots basically for the whole video. It's first person. So I was able to go into that being like, okay, I've made these before. People like them. I like surprising people with these things. So the confidence for, the feedback wasn't really an issue. It was the confidence of the skills and building up this different experience. Those were the crunch points and the things that I tried to work on the most to deliver a cinematic experience that maybe people weren't expecting, even if they had seen it on my channel before.
But you struggled to get studios, distributors to take you seriously. What was that process like?
I've always had that. That's not really new. And
did you just think they're underestimating you?
I'm not sure. Underestimating kind of implies that they would have no knowledge of my success or my audience, and I think they did.
Right, like you had already done Edge of Sleep. Like that's where I'm kind of like, huh.
And so what I want to say is that there were probably many more opportunities for deals to be made, but when you get to this point where I'm like self-financing it and I'm able to release it, and I have made projects that were on the most shoestring budget that I've done myself, to this being one of the most expensive ones that I've done, not the most expensive, but one of. And it's when you get to that point where you're able to do that all yourself, and I'm able to edit myself, I'm like, well, why would I take a deal that really cuts me out of my own thing that I made, and gives up all this control, which is the standard deal in Hollywood, and for its own good reasons. I'm not trying to shit all over that. apologies for cursing. I don't know if that's...
Now you're good.
Shitting all over that is because a lot of people have to take that route. And I always want to come out with an idea that like, yeah, I'm in a position that I've built over 14 years. A lot of people have to start out somewhere. But it just didn't seem right for me to take those deals. There were many calls that I had where people didn't understand what I was doing and what my channel was. But moreover, it was just a choice of like, if I don't have to, why would I? And I didn't realize that until like 2 years into the process, after several calls and struggles to make presentations. And I did all the pounding of the pavement. I did a lot of this. I had plenty of meetings, but it didn't really go anywhere. So it was a mixture of it.
I want to talk about the YouTube perception thing. In an interview, you mentioned a studio had told you that your movie wasn't going to be like Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. And like, that is such a fascinating thing to me because they are nothing alike. But I guess the implication is what? YouTube?
The implication was like, YouTubers, no matter how many subscribers they have or followers they have, are never going to be like a mainstream celebrity. I think that's what the comparison was, is they're not as legitimate as these fans that go out for stadiums and showed up for this real celebrity. And I don't even care. I don't want to be labeled celebrities. I don't want YouTubers to have to deal with any of the stuff that traditional Hollywood celebrities have to deal with. I kind of like that YouTubers exist in this pocket where they can do their own thing. They're not messed with. And maybe they get that little bit of treated, not as properly as proper, celebrities. But to not recognize from a business standpoint the value of those audiences always makes me laugh, is because like I said this before on a previous interview, like when I was at the Emmys, a lot of this comes down to that, is a lot of those publications and the people doing the interviews on the red carpet didn't want to talk to me. And I didn't want to talk to them ever. I hate red carpets. Not because I hate their publication, but because like I don't like being there. I don't like people just standing there and take my picture. It's just weird. But I thought, hey, if you interview me, it'd be good for your publication. And that's not ego. I just have a lot of followers. They'll find your stuff more if my name's on it. And so I just didn't understand why they wouldn't. So it's that stigma. It's like YouTubers, they're not real, their followers aren't real. But honestly, I think they're more real than the followers of a lot of things out there.
Well, ironically, that's part of the storyline now, right? Like one of the reasons that I am talking to you, one of the reasons that the Hollywood Reporter wants to talk to you is like, YouTuber makes a movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like that fits a narrative that is interesting. It almost kind of comes full circle.
Yeah. It is this narrative that feeds into itself. The only reason that headline works is because so many people was like, I didn't think a YouTuber could do that. And right. But I recognize that this is a long process, and the more times that's in a headline, the more normal it becomes, and then it's not weird. And so my objective here is to make it not weird, to give more YouTubers that come after me a chance to be taken seriously. Like, I don't care what anybody says
even
about
if that
me.
pushes you into normie world.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I will gladly be in normie world, because it's just, that's what naturally happens. You get this overexposure and this normalization of all that you are, and it can dilute down the kind of effort that you put into it. I'm happy with that. I've never been bothered by what people think about me, or like what people consider me as, or what they want to label me as. But I know it matters to a lot of other people. And a lot of other YouTubers suffer from this, where it's like the comments and the criticisms online can break down their motivation. And the last thing I want for people to do is lose motivation in terms of their creative spark. And if I can just shield just a little bit of those embers so that they can burn, and people often make jokes that I'm a masochist anyway. So if I can take some of that on the chin so that other people can be taken seriously, like I'm always, that's what I want to do with this. That's how I want this to go.
I think there's something kind of fascinatingly old-fashioned in the movie theater butts in seats part of this. Where like that's a whole industry in and of itself. It is different from the streaming industry. It exists in a very old-fashioned business. And yet you have this thing now on your site where you can go and like click and see the theaters. Talk to me about that part of it.
I think that in this digital world that we live in, people often forget that, even the people themselves forget that people want to get outside. They want to go have an experience. They want to be able to go do something. And I think that a lot of people are looking for a reason to not look at the rectangle in their pocket or the bigger rectangle on their lap. It's people want to go have an experience at a movie theater that they sometimes can't get in their own home. People have bigger TVs than ever nowadays, and some have nice sound systems. But for the majority of people, the movie theater is probably the most immersive experience that they're going to get for a while, and probably for the near foreseeable future. So it's like I think everybody loves movies. I doubt there's many people out there that are just like, I never watch movies. I've never seen a movie. I could never imagine myself going to see a movie. Like maybe there's some more than others, but it's just like, yeah, I think it might be old school, but at the same time, as a human experience, getting together with your other fellow humans and watching a story unfold on a big screen and with all this immersive sound around you, like that's special. And it's something that people can't get at home alone looking at a rectangle.
Do you think the YouTuber to movie pipeline is going to grow? I mean, Chris Stuckman made Shelby Oaks. It did not do that well. I guess I'm wondering, like, are you a trend? Are you a blip? Have you thought about it that way?
I haven't, because honestly, it's inevitable. I think there are too many YouTubers to stop, and if they can't be stopped anyway, because if people are able to put things out on their own, then it's like, well, it's going to happen no matter what. Because I know there's tons of YouTubers out there that have a lot of ideas, and some of them are going to go like, hey, look, Markiplier made something. That's pretty cool. I think I could do that. And there's going to be others that be like, Markiplier made the worst piece of shit movie ever. I got to put something out there so people don't take us seriously as YouTubers. And that's fine too. That's great. I think that there's multiple reasons for motivation for those YouTubers to get their projects going, and a little bit of confidence that, like, okay, maybe it might not be an utter failure if I do this. Maybe there's a chance that this could be something big, and there's going to be tons of YouTubers that come after that make bigger projects than I did, that are going to have bigger success, and I can't wait to see it. So I think it's just inevitable.
Does it matter to you if critics don't necessarily love it?
Oh, not at all. No, I don't. Like I said, the way that I work is I'm an emotional guy, right? So I'll wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry on camera. But the thing about me is, when it comes to comments and negative criticism, it's actually genuinely never bothered me. And it's not even a thing like, oh man, I'm so
really
immune to that.
even in this iteration where it's an industry.
Doesn't matter at all, because they don't know me, right? And this also conversely applies to praise comments. I don't get anything out of that. If someone's like, you're the greatest ever, it's like, well, you don't know me, so it doesn't matter. And so those all fall in the same sphere of like the critics, I don't know them. If there was a critic that I knew personally that was like I considered a friend, and they said something, that was like, this movie had flaw, I would go, oh, come on. And if it was like a family member or someone that I knew personally, it would devastate me, and I would do everything to be like, I gotta be better so I can make them proud of me again. But when it comes to random criticism online, I don't care. People have their own opinions. It's for some people, not for others. I knew that making it, and going into the development process of putting the movie together, I already hated myself more and this movie more than anyone could possibly imagine. And I came out of it at a point where I released it where I was like, okay, I don't hate it anymore. Go. And so all of my struggles and emotion with that happened over the 3 years that I was making it. So now I'm just like, all right, cool. Can't wait for the next one.
So what does drive you?
I am horribly addicted to the cycle of making things and pushing myself. Some people call me a masochist on that one, and I'm not a masochist. I just like seeing how far I can go. I love the feedback loop of I did a thing, I accomplished this, I did all those sleepless nights, I put it out there, and now people can see it. And hopefully they're enjoying it. If they're not, then it's like, all right, got to work harder on the next one. So with YouTube, that cycle where I talked to you about doing all those other things leading up to this, I get that instant feedback of like daily. I put out a video. Okay, I get that little bit of dopamine, the serotonin, and then I can make the next thing. And I'm worried about the next thing. And when I was filming this one, I was already thinking about the next thing. And so now that I'm done with it, I can't wait to think about the next thing and start working on the next thing. So that's what I mean when I'm hopelessly addicted. I often don't even take the time to appreciate kind of what's happening now. Because like over the weekend, I was just looking at all the responses and now seeing all the fan art, but already my mind's just like, I can't wait to get started and destroy myself on the next thing. So yeah, it's extremely unhealthy, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Will the next thing be a self-funded project where you do it all? Or is the next thing, you walk into some big studio and they take your call now?
I think it's just going to be a thing where I fund it myself and do it all because I can. Not all. I don't want to be constantly the person doing the directing, acting, writing, and editing. People probably looked at this and were like, oh, what an egotistical maniac. It was like, who else was going to do it? I didn't have anybody. Who else? I've done that for all the other projects. It was never a problem until now. And so, but it's not ego that I would be like, well, I'll show you. I can do it all. It's like, I already know I can do it all. I don't want to do it all. There's plenty of other people that are more talented than me that can help out doing it. Like I didn't do the art department stuff for this one because I know that there's so many other people that can make that set look beautiful. I had a director of photography. His name was Philip Roy, and he's just like, I know how talented he is because he did all the 2 other projects that I had. You got all the people working in makeup and wardrobe that I've worked with before. You got Anna and Erica, and you get some newcomers that I've met before with these incredible talents. So it's like, I recognize that there are people that have all these talents. I just like to fill the gaps where I can and focus on the things where I can help that puts it all together. So that's what I like doing. So wherever I fit is where I'm going to land. And if there's a hole to fill, then I'll fill it.
But safe to say, you're going to make another movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Many more.
Markiplier, thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh, no problem.